Seems like we just did budget season.
It sure
We
does.
did.
Not enough space between
There's
last
not.
budget and this budget.
I hope it's my last one.
Chris, we're starting budget season, what, in the middle of spring or August or with this weather?
Hi, Steven. Hi, Ken.
Hello, Steve. Robin, I can still see you. You're not dark enough.
Okay, wait. Does that work?
Much better.
Oh, God.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
Good evening, everyone.
All right. I think I'll start my spiel and I think Anna will be joining us. Are we good to go, Neil?
We are good to go.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm going to read the right to know law meeting checklist. All right. As chair of the Hopkinen Select Board, due to the COVID-19 coronavirus crisis in accordance with Governor Sununu's Emergency Order Number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this board is authorized to meet electronically. Note, there's no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to the meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's order. In accordance with the emergency order, this is to confirm we are doing the following. A, providing public access to the meeting by phone with additional access possibilities by video. We're using Zoom tonight. All members of the board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during the meeting through Zoom, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in the meeting. You can dial 646-558-8656. The meeting ID is 340-316-049, or we've provided a Zoom website or Zoom address as well. B, providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of how to access the meeting using Zoom, and instructions are provided on the Town of Hopkinton's website at www.hopkinen-newhampshire.gov and on the town's Facebook page. C, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anyone has a problem, please call 603-746-8242, or you can email townadmin@hopkinen-newhampshire.gov. D, adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public's unable to access the meeting, we will adjourn and have it rescheduled. There are a few notes about the meeting that are helpful. This is being recorded and available. It will be available to watch at a later date. The link will be on the town website. The board is unmuted. Everyone else is muted. If you have questions during the meeting, you can use the raise your hand function. And during public comment, we will unmute folks to allow them to speak. And all votes that are taken during this meeting will be done by roll call. And so we will start the meeting with roll call, and if everyone could state their presence and whether there's anyone in the room with them as required under the right to know law. This is Sabrina Dunlap. I'm alone in my office. Stephen.
Stephen Whitley, alone in this office.
Ken.
Muted.
He doesn't look muted though.
Oh, he just,
Oh. Ken, I think you're not muted. Oh wait, but we can't hear you. Okay, let's
Oh
go
my
to-
God, I'm in space.
And I was gonna say sweet backer.
Anna's on the moon.
All right,
Take
Jeff,
everybody with you?
let's go to Jeff while Ken figures out his mic.
Jeff Donahan, I'm alone.
Anna.
Frozen.
Okay, Anna's frozen in space and Ken's mic isn't working.
Can you hear me?
Oh wait,
now?
now we can hear you, Ken.
Okay, I'm alone in my room.
Okay.
You're very quiet, Ken.
Yeah, I can't hear you.
Could barely hear you.
Put the volume up.
and I thought he wouldn't have any questions on the budget this year.
All right.
I had to tell Neil that.
And did we lose Anna? I thought I heard her voice.
Looks like she's coming back.
Okay.
Whoa.
Yay.
Hi.
Anna, you're the last one.
Oh my goodness. Sorry about that.
Anna, will you just say if you're alone and your name for roll call?
I'm present and I am alone and my name is Anna Wells, I think, still.
All right. Excellent. Thank you, everybody. I just have to pull up the agenda, which I just lost. I assume Points of Pride is first.
Nope.
Nope. Hold on.
You cut it out.
Oh, okay. Okay. Hold on. I think I got our meeting. I lost it. Here we go. Call to order. You're right. There is no Points of Pride. Okay. We got a lot to cover tonight. I will just take this moment to say thank you to everybody who helped last Tuesday with the election, Neil and everyone else who volunteered their time and the supervisors of the checklists. It was a huge undertaking, and Sarah Pacino too. Just amazing job by everybody. And thank you to everyone who came out and voted. And Carol Harless. Too many people to name, but thank you, everyone. All right, so I had to get that in. On to administrative. First is approval of the consent agenda.
Offer to go in to sign.
I'm having some issues with my screen. Is the consent agenda up?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. What the heck is happening here? Any discussions? Ken said he would sign.
Make a motion to approve and to authorize Ken to sign on behalf of the board.
Second,
Second.
Was that second Anna or Jeff?
doesn't matter, either way.
All right, okay. Anyway, all right, we're good to go. All right, Sabrina's a yes. Stephen,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes,
Jeff,
Yes.
Anna.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. And thanks for signing, Ken. Next, we have approval of the public meeting minutes of October 26th, 2020.
I'll move we approve the public meeting minutes of October 26, 2020, but note that I do have one change.
Okay,
Second.
great. Ken, you want to share your,
Sure. On page 6, there was a discussion when we were meeting with the school board about the scheduling of the town and the school business meetings. And Norman Goupel and myself were sort of designated as the representative to try to work that out. And just that's not included in there, that Norm and I were delegated to that responsibility.
Okay, I'll add it.
Thank you.
thank you. Anything else? All right. Okay, so with Ken's edit, Sabrina's a yes. Ken,
Yes,
Jeff,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Anna.
Yes.
Thank you. And approval of the non-public meeting minutes of October 26th, 2020.
Similarly, I'll move we approve the non-public meeting minutes of October 26, 2020, and note that they're actually not going to be, they're going to be made public.
We have a-
Second.
Thank you. All right. Sabrina's a yes. Stephen,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes,
Jeff,
Yes.
Anna.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to budget presentations, part one. First up, we have planning and zoning with Karen Robertson. Hi, Karen.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, okay. I can't see myself, so I don't know if you can hear
We
me or
can't
see
see
me.
you, but we can hear you.
Okay. So the planning board budget, which is the 4191 account, I'll quickly go through it, and please feel free to ask me any questions, or interrupt me and ask questions. Line item, I'm going to start with 140, which is overtime. For the past 3 years, we've been over. So I've increased that line item by $250, as you can see. Then I'm going to jump down, just go through the changes that we've made down to line item 345. We're still waiting for invoices to come in, but those are contracts that we have. And let's see here, recording fees, line item 346. With respect to that line item, there's been expenditures in that line item. We just need to do a journal entry, I think, for that to reflect that. With respect to line item 390, professional services. Due to COVID, we actually hadn't spent any money or much money in that account. We always keep around 4,200 in the account should the planning board or zoning board of adjustment need consultation services. Most of the time those services are offset by payment we receive from the applicant. And the only thing that I've added this year, as I did last year, was the New England document scanning. The amount last year was, I think, 7,200. It was removed from the budget. I've asked for 4,500 to try to get started with it. Those are the file cabinets that are in my office. And it's the same company that we used for the assessing, scanning all their files. Let's see here, travel and meals remains the same. Everything else, with the exception of advertising, we will be way over on advertising. I've increased that to 2,500. And dues and subscriptions, we are still waiting for invoices for that account. Postage, again, we will be way over on postage. And those with advertising and postage, those line items are generally also fees for applications do offset some of that cost. And I think I've quickly covered everything in my 10 minutes.
Thanks, Karen. I have a quick question. I'm sure others do too, but why is advertising over so much?
Because we have been, I don't think we've been this busy since 2008
Wow.
or before 2008.
So same with postage.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
And same with overtime. The one blessing that we have, legislature passed a different requirement. I think it started in September, for public notice requirement for zoning amendments. They do not, they no longer have to be published in a paper. of local circulation. So as long as we have them in our front page or our website and posted in 2 public places, we meet the requirements now as far as general notice. So that should save us, I mean, usually that's at least $500 or so.
Karen, what's the increase in retirement?
That would have to be a Neil or Deb. I think the New Hampshire retirement went up a certain percentage for
Okay.
everybody's school and towns.
As of July 1, retirement's going up substantially. The percentage is going up. It reflects it actually is $49,673 in the budget overall increase, and that's a half a year just from July 1 on. So we'll see that same increase next year. It's the retirement system being underfunded, and I've never seen such a huge increase all at once.
Lovely.
So you will see that throughout the entire budget.
Karen, thank you for the presentation. I have a couple of questions regarding the revenue projections that we'll be using for 2021. And I guess to start with, are you anticipating the same level of activity in 2021 as this year?
Yes. One thing that you'll notice is if you've tried to get a contractor personally, or if you've spoken to contractors that have come to your property or you work with them, they are so busy right now doing work. That said, they're coming into us and they're pulling permits constantly. So I think it has to do with COVID and everybody staying home and having these ideas and projects they'd like to do. I assume that it would be at the same level.
Okay.
To answer your question.
Okay, thank you. So I don't know if you have developed the revenue projections or Neil has, so whoever has, I'll ask to answer the question. If I look at revenue account 3401001 planning board fees, that's projected to be $6,000 for 2021. Yet for the first 9 months of 2020, we've already received $6,261. So would it be reasonable to increase the $6,000 number?
I would be on the conservative side and leave it at the 6,000. I'm sorry, I don't have that sheet in front of me. The projection that Neil has provided. Because if you look at previous years, it has not, I don't think planning board like last year was not that high. But again, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn because I don't have the sheet in front of me.
No, you're not speaking out of turn, and I appreciate, your thoughts on that. Similarly, I have a question about building permit fees. Where the estimate for 2021 is $40,000, and the budget for 2020 was $40,000, and through 9 months we received over 34,000. So again, should we be considering increasing the $40,000 target estimate for 2021?
I would suggest, again, I'm very conservative, so I would suggest leaving it the same. I can look at it as I'm sure Neil did of what the year before, the last 5 years have been, but this has been one of our busiest years in years. But I don't anticipate it being any busier than what we are currently. There isn't, unless people are renovating more or putting additions on their homes, there are not vacant lots available in Hopkinton for people to be building homes or doing a lot of construction where that's where the fees would mostly come in.
Okay, thank you for that, and thank you for everything you do for the town.
I appreciate it.
My questions.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Karen, this is Stephen. Can you talk a little bit about on the professional services line item, the any documents scanning of files for 4,500.
Sure. This was interesting because last year when we got the quote from Any Documents, they do it based on drawers. I thought it would be the number of files. They must figure how many files are in a drawer. They measure the file cabinets and so on and so forth. So I couldn't give you a number of files, but they gave us an estimate of, I think it was 7,200, which I budgeted for and which we had removed. Actually, that's 2 5-drawer file cabinets. And I think two 5 drawers and 1 3-drawer file cabinet. I've tried to consolidate that and talk to Neil about this instead of for, a 20 lot subdivision is having them actually scan it in each lot. What I would do is have them do it in an initial lot and myself do some sort of reference in each full file after that. And so I'm trying to bring the price down, and the estimate right now is about 4,500. And when I reviewed this with Neil, my goal is to try to get started with it. We may be able to do the entire thing for 4,500. But I just would like to be able to get started with consolidating the files so that they're electronic. It's much easier for people that call for information, especially like the assessing also, is we just attach it as a file as an email attachment and send it off.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was trying to get at is, how does it help you do your job, and how does it help people in the public to have these be in electronic form?
Extremely helpful. I'm working on cell towers today, and a lot of the stuff for those have been scanned through the permits through assessing. But you can sit here, I can send it to people electronically, and they can sit in their office and review it and then call me with questions, rather than them having to come in here and go through all the papers. And it's much easier. I'll say to them, you find what you're looking for and call me and I can help you.
Okay. And you think that 4,500 may cover all of the paper copies that you have in those drawers, maybe?
I don't know about all, but I think significant amount. Maybe not the 3-drawer file cabinet, but I'm hoping at least the 2 5-drawers that are behind me.
Okay. Thank you.
And it will provide, space is an issue, as you know, and it will eliminate file cabinets and provide more space.
So after they're scanned, what would we do with the hard copies?
Okay, and Neil would be really the one. So Neil, if I'm saying this wrong, please interrupt. I think they keep it in their warehouse or their office for 1 year or 2 years, and then they destroy them, the paper copies.
They're saved as PDFAs, which are allowable now for archive purposes. So we actually get rid of the hard files.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm sorry if I didn't, answer the question right. Yes.
That's great.
No, you did. That was perfect.
Thanks, Karen. Anyone else have questions? Good. All right. Well, thanks so much for coming in, Karen.
I just want to say to you, I want to thank you guys, and I'm sure everybody else feels the same way. During COVID, when we were sent home, it was extremely settling to realize that you guys, kept us on, and we really appreciate it.
Oh, well, that's nice to hear. And we appreciate everyone working through crazy difficult times. So
I know.
know.
All right. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thanks, you too.
Good night.
Hi, Karen.
Hi,
Hi.
Karen.
Next up, we have Human Services, Marilyn.
Here comes.
Marilyn, you're muted.
That is the saying of the year.
Oh, good.
Here,
Hi, Marilyn.
Hi.
you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks for joining. All right. Marilyn, feel free to take it away.
Uh-oh.
Can we lose her? Marilyn, are you with us? Hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
We can. Yeah.
Jerry?
We hear you say, can you hear me? And then it goes silent. Now, all right. Are you there?
Okay, all right,
Are you?
sorry.
No, no worries.
Oh.
So Neil, do you have the relevant?
Oh yeah, I'm not sharing it. Sorry.
Marilyn, can you, are you on the phone or can you see us?
No, I'm on the computer.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
Okay, my administrative account is 4441. There are no real changes here. As you can see under membership and conferences training, I didn't really spend any money this year because the welfare administrators, we as a board decided not to charge any dues. And of course, we haven't had any meetings except on Zoom. But I put it in because I assume, I'm hoping, in next year, there will be meetings and I assume that we will have our dues. Other than that, I don't think there's anything to talk about there.
Okay. Does anyone have questions for Marilyn?
My question is more general, Marilyn, it's Ken, and thank you for everything you're doing for the town. How has demand been for, say, the food bank and just for assistance from the town
Okay,
compared to
well, that,
prior years?
shall we change, shall we go to my budget then, 4445,
Sure.
Sure.
the
Thank
assistance budget?
Oh, yeah.
That's
Thanks.
That one's up now.
So it is up, Ken. If you had asked me at the beginning of this year what we would be doing, I actually thought I would be coming in suggesting that we cut the budget because the town of Hopkinton has changed so much. There isn't any reasonable, affordable place to live in Hopkinton anymore, other than one of the mobile home parks, which isn't truly reasonable. Most of the apartments are being renovated and the rents are going up. So the character of the town has changed a lot. However, because of COVID, things have changed back. I don't think the paperwork you have in front of you reflects this, but I have already spent almost 46,000 of the 50,000 as of today. So there's a chance that I may go over budget for this year. So my suggestion is that we again ask for the 50,000.
And you do have dollars in different reserve accounts if necessary.
Yeah, that was going to be my next thing,
Yeah.
Ken. And let me answer your question, Joe. Yes, demand has been up. When COVID first struck, it was really high for the food pantry. And then it slowed down a little bit because some of the people went back to work. But now it's going way up. Practically every day I get another call for a new family. So yes, demand is up.
Okay. Okay. And when you're saying up, it's increased during the year, but compared to prior years, it's also up?
Yeah, recent prior years.
Mhm. Okay,
2008, it was off the charts, but it's, it's up compared to the last couple of years, yes.
okay.
And yes, I do have donation accounts, Ken, and I do have a reserve account, both that have, the reserve account is been untouched.
Okay, I'm not suggesting certainly we cut your budget. I'm just trying to remind myself of discussions in prior years
Right,
and
yeah,
bring it up to date.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I had.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Marilyn,
Yeah.
could you just, do you know offhand what the balance is in those other accounts? We probably have it in our materials, but I figured I would just ask since you're on the line right now.
I think there's about 25,000 in the reserve account. Does that sound right, Neil?
28,638.
Yeah.
I found it.
And then in my donation accounts, I have 12,000 in the regular donation account and 18,000 in the fuel assistance account.
And how do you typically use all those accounts with the money that's appropriated in the operating budget?
Oh, like now, okay, so now that I'm close to the end of budget, any fuel that I authorize from now till the end of the year, I'll use the donation account.
So there's like
and
an
I'll-
order of priority in how you spend down one before the other?
No, it's kind of juggling it
Okay.
back and forth so that I don't go over budget and use it as wisely as possible.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, well, thanks so much, Marilyn.
Yes, thank you all too.
And thank you for all the work you're doing.
Mm.
All right. Next, we have finance. Deb.
Maybe, sorry, I promoted her picture, but not her. All right, try that. You hear
Hey,
us?
Deb. Deb, are you with us? Hmm.
Can you hear me now?
There
Yeah.
we go.
Yes.
Hi, Deb. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you. I will start with page 37 on account 4150 finance. As Neil mentioned earlier, one of the first items that I'm up on is the line item New Hampshire retirement. As he said, July to December of next year, we will have, we'll be showing the increase. And then most of my budget is contractual. The computer software maintenance, which is line 345, the software I have is for the general ledger, accounts payable, payroll, and accounts receivable modules, and they're having a slight increase for next year, so that's up to $6,300. On the next page, I'm up a little we have an annual audit with Robertson Green, and then we have the fixed assets with Duff and Phelps. That's pretty much stayed the same, but it's contractual that we do every year with them. And also the copier and postage contracts and supplies is up a little bit, a couple $100 to cover those contracts for next year. The new item that I have added is to be compliant with GASB 75. We used to have GASB 45, and a couple years ago the laws changed, and we've talked to the board about this in last year. We didn't have it budgeted, so we didn't do it. And it's for post-employment liabilities for the retirement, and it's something that the board can think about if we want to start for next year with it. It's a $3,500 contractual for the first year, and then it's $2,500 the second year, and then it goes back to $3,500. So it would be every other year to be in compliant with that. So that putting that in, it really brought me up to like a 5% increase overall for the finance department. Are there any questions on that budget?
I guess, Deb, if you can, it's Ken. The GAS 75, you seem to say that we don't have to comply with that. Is that correct?
Well, if we don't comply with it, the auditors will write a sentence in their management report saying that we don't have it. We're a very small town, and it's, to me, quite costly for this. I have continued to give them the GASB 45 information to the auditors, but legally they have to say that, well, the new law states that you have to do the GASB 75. So it's basically up for discussion. I can provide further information on it. I can have Neil email you the letter with the company that explains it a little bit more in detail.
I think that would be helpful.
Yep.
Sort of I'm seeing, okay, what's the downside if we eliminate it?
Right. Okay.
If
I can do that tomorrow.
we were going out bonding our own bonds, we would probably want to do it. But given that the bond bank hasn't questioned that certainly at all, I'm not sure that it's worth doing either.
When was the last time we did a bond ourselves rather than using a local bank or the bond bank?
I bet we never have.
Yeah.
Okay.
And to reiterate what Ken said, I would appreciate seeing that letter also, Deb. So thank you for offering to provide that.
Okay, sure.
Does there come a point where there are consequences or penalties for not? I mean, I understand that it's like in keeping with, policy, but is there, over time, does it become, it's no longer a choice, or over time, does there reach a point where there's some penalty for not doing GASB 2075?
Actually, the auditors are coming tomorrow, so I can talk to them about it and get some info on that. If we don't do it, what happens, this year or 5 years from now. If there is, I don't think there's any penalty, but I'll look into it for you.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And Deb, if I could just clarify, the budget shows $4,000 for this account, and you said $3,500.
Yes, and there's, I've got the letter right here. There were other incidental costs that might happen. Actuaries, associate actuaries, analysts, and other technical and administrative costs. So that's why I put it in at 4,000 in case we had some extra charges other than just the full valuation.
So if the select board opted not to comply with GAS 75, we could reduce the budget request by 4,000?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. The next budget is on page 42, Personnel Administration.
Actually, your numbers don't match ours.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Page 37.
Okay, 4155 Personnel Administration. The top line is Neil's area where he's suggested a merit wage pool of the 2%. And then the next couple of line items is with our insurance company. We have health insurance and dental insurance that we cover for full-time employees. And that is an increase. What we put in at this point, before we have any definitive, definite numbers, is the guaranteed maximum rate increase. And the health insurance gave us a 6% increase, and they said there'll be no change to the dental. So this just, it depends on how many single, two-person, and family plans that we have for our full-time employees. The long-term disability is based on the monthly payroll costs, so that's up slightly. And then Social Security and Medicare is based on, we do offer a stipend for those employees that are able to have insurance through their spouse. So by them going with their spouse's insurance, we give them a stipend of $4,000 a year, and that has to have Social Security and Medicare taken out. So that's listed there. And the unemployment insurance from Primex said next year there'll be no change, so that stayed the same. But workers' comp is up about $822 for all of our coverage. And the life insurance stays the same because it's $15,000 policy per employee of full-time status. So that didn't change. And the FSA and miscellaneous personnel expenses, that stays the same through 2022. Once we hit 2022, we will be removing the $1,000 police officer disability insurance cost. That will come off, but not next year. And I kept the training and advertising at the same. So that's all that I have on those. Any questions on that?
Deb, I guess first on health insurance, that's assuming the same levels of coverage for our employees.
Yes, it is.
And similar for dental?
Correct.
Okay, and has any kind of analysis been done on other options so that we could reduce the health insurance cost without harming our employees?
I think we look at it our insurance is July 1st to June 30th. So we will be looking more at that as we get closer to the renewal time frame.
Okay, and I guess not for you and probably not necessarily tonight, but certainly the board's going to have discussions about whether a 2% merit wage is reasonable, or if there even should be one, recognizing, as Marilyn said, that there are many people in town now that are suffering, or if maybe instead of a merit wage increase this year, we consider a merit bonus or just a straight bonus for employees. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I'll turn the mic over to anybody else.
The next one is 4196, property liability. And we have, our carrier is with Primex. And it is up $5,010. And that's, it's contracted basically so that we can't change what they're billing us for. The next one is debt.
Have we looked at the impact of a higher deductible on that cost? And how many claims did we have in the last year?
We've had very few claims the last couple years. It's $1,000 deductible each occurrence. I have not asked if that was higher, if the rates would be worth, it's worth looking into. I can inquire to see if that would bring the cost down.
But Primex is a risk pool, and I believe this is how it's set up with the $1,000 deductible, that there aren't necessarily options.
That's what I was thinking, but it doesn't, I can look into it if you want me to.
If there's an option, I'd be interested to know the difference.
Okay.
Well, last year, we budgeted $1 for the deductible and similarly treated it on the revenue side. Why aren't we using the same approach this time?
If you're going to have an expense, you should really budget for it because of gross-based budgeting. So technically, because we've spent $1,325 out of that line, that has to be cut in other areas. So you really want to do accurate budgeting. That's why some money is in there for deductibles.
I want you to remember that argument when we get into some of these other things that we discussed last year. That we didn't spend, but we budgeted heavily for.
The next budget is 4711, debt service. We have principal and interest, and because we're refinancing a couple of the bonds, we're able to reduce it this year, and we will only have a couple. The January payments are both due for the ones that we're refinancing, so they're shown as the proposed numbers. I put in the description line showing that what it was supposed to be. Like the road rehab was supposed to be $215,598, but we're only going to pay $106,982. We'll make the January payments, and then we'll get the funds for all the bonds in 2021, and the same with the interest. And the only other one I have is the TAN, which we have put in $2,000 each year, just in case if funds are needed. But I'm pretty sure we'll be okay. This year it was running tight with the tax bills will be going out soon, and we should have the money in by December 15th, so we should be all set to meet our obligations in December.
Do we know when was the last time we took out a TAN?
Between 5 and 8 years ago, I think.
Been once in the last 10 years.
Yeah, I think it might have been 8 years ago because I don't remember it while I was on the board.
Any other questions for Deb? Okay. All right,
Well,
well,
thank you all.
yes, thank you, Deb.
Okay, thanks, Deb.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're a little late for our 6 o'clock public hearing on issuance of refunding bonds. So we can turn to that. So sorry to the budget folks who are coming next. We're 15 minutes behind.
So there's a resolution, which I can pull up. I think. This is to gain input into whether or not you should refinance. It's required by statute to have a public hearing if you're going to do refunding bonds to pay off current debt, basically refinancing. Yes, so you can see that this is the current 2015 road bond. The interest savings over the same amount of time period is 42,000, almost 42,000, and refinancing the fire station. I'll get that popped up too. Saves 191,000 over the time of the same bond out until 2031. This is assuming a bond rate of 1.5%. When they went out last time, it was less than half that, so it may be even more savings and less cost. And there is a resolution. There we go. On this, which you have copies that you've received, that if you adopt, this would go to the bond bank. This is what is needed to authorize the refinancing of bonds. I don't know. I think Deb's still on if she has anything to add because she's been working on this.
Just that the attorney working with us on this has recommended this, and it's been reviewed and required in order to move forward.
Any questions? Thanks, Deb. Any questions or comments from the board?
I mean, I'm certainly in favor of the of refinancing and taking advantage of a rate that's probably going to be less than 1.5%. And I guess the question is the principal on the current fire station bond. It's maturing in 2029, and in effect, by doing the refinancing, we're going to 2031.
Should be the same year. But this is the road bond. It's a combined road bond and fire station bond. So actually, it's the 10-year bond, which is where we're at. So actually, it does adjust those payments for both.
I was trying to grapple with if I can, say to the budget committee that we're not extending the maturity of the existing debt.
Right. The one thing is, under this circumstance, you can see that the interest rate for the fire station and the new road bond that was voted in 2020 is slightly less than just what we would be paying for the fire station.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm certainly in favor of it. I'm just trying to figure how to defend it if that issue comes up.
Yeah, bonds, they don't do odd year amounts.
So the options were 5 or 10 years, period.
For bonds, back when you chose this one, there were other bank options, but they were quite a bit more.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, thanks, Neil.
Anyone else? And then I guess since this is a public hearing, see if anyone from the public has any comments. We good on the board side? So if anyone in the crowd wants to make a comment, now's the time.
If they click on participant in the bar at the bottom, it should show a place to raise their hand. Although it may show a place to raise their hand. And if you're on the phone, it's *9.
All right, doesn't look like anyone wants to comment on this. So, anyone, this seems to make sense. Anyone have any reservations with moving forward with this? Okay. So Neil, what's the signing situation?
So,
Should we take do we need a vote?
do a roll call vote on this resolution,
Okay.
and then Ken can sign in person tomorrow, but I'll have the rest of you sign it electronically, so we have all 5 signatures.
And it's 2 separate resolutions that we need to vote on.
Yes, then the next, this is the refinancing one, and then there's one to correct the old one, which I can explain. Maybe I'll do that after. Well, it's to correct. It wasn't the promissory notes before weren't signed by all board members, which is required. The board had voted to authorize the chair to sign, and the chair did sign. But the statute requires all board members. So this is to correct that on the 2014 and 2016 promissory notes, the next resolution.
Got it. Somebody want to make a motion?
Sure, I'll move we approve the resolution authorizing the issuance of refunding.
All right, I'll second it. All right, so Sabrina's yes, Stephen,
Yes.
Ken. Ken looks frozen. Jeff?
Yes.
Anna?
Yes.
Ken, do we have you?
Oh, yeah, if you didn't hear me,
Yes.
I moved.
You moved
Okay,
yes, to yes, right?
We just
yeah.
need to know your vote. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
And then there is this one, which is ratifies and corrects the 2014 and 16 promissory notes. There's specific statutory requirements that all members are a quorum of the governing body, plus the treasurer and the town seal is on each of them. So, and this was only signed by the chair. That was what happened. Using bond counsel, all of these things are caught. When we went through the banks, we did not use bond counsel.
So I'll move that we approve a resolution to ratify and correct the 2014 and 2016 promissory notes, and I lost the rest of the, in connection with the issuance of refunding bonds dated as of November 9, 2020. Thank you, Neil.
Second.
All right. Sabrina's yes. Stephen,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Anna,
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
Thank you.
And you basically just voted this, but this is the actual, just a vote to sign, or I guess you've approved. So I will send to you, this is the Granite Bank promissory note to actually sign. So there'll be the two resolutions in this Granite Bank promissory note to sign. The Franklin Savings Bank promissory note was signed by all board members, so that is all set. And that wraps up all.
What's the signing situation with this Granite Bank one? Do we all need to?
Yes, I'll send them out with the DocuSign.
Oh, right, you said that. Sorry. Okay.
Sign them all electronically.
All right. Thanks, Neil. All right. So we'll close the public hearing on the bond issue and get back to budget presentations. And next up is Conservation Commission. I don't know who's on for them.
Melissa Jones, I just promoted her. I don't know if Rob Knight is also. I'll promote him too.
Hi, Rob and Melissa.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks. Thanks for joining us.
Let me turn my video. Hold on. There we go. Hello.
Hi. Rob, are you with us? You're muted right now. Just want to make sure we're able to hear you.
Yes, I'm here, but Melissa's the treasurer of the Conservation Commission. So
Great.
she's going to be making the presentation.
All right, thank you.
Not the chair, the treasurer. Did I say chair?
You said treasurer.
Good.
All right, how do you guys do this? Do you ask me questions, or you want me to just sort of summarize our four things?
Just let us know. Yeah, summary is great.
Okay, as you can see, we really only have four things that are usually our typical costs. I'm going to skip around because, well, most of them are estimates.
Sorry to interrupt. What's the number on this? The like 4-digit number?
4611.
Oh, thanks.
82 in our books.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so we belong to the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissioners, and so every year we pay $350 to that. So that's a thing we've been paying for years and years. The rest of them are estimates, starting back up at the land conservation costs. Depending on how many land deals we do, there's appraisals, legal fees, surveying, and we just, for this year, made just an average of what we've sort of had in the past. Sometimes it's been higher, and this year, I don't know what the exact number was. I'm sorry, I don't have that with me, but that's just about a ballpark figure. And
we don't really have office supplies, but we buy trail signs, little plastic signs, and supplies for bridges and all that kind of stuff, usually lumber, signposts, that kind of thing. So again, that's an estimate. We haven't, this year, we haven't really done a lot of new trail maintenance, trail building. So we've done a lot of maintenance and just updated signs and that kind of thing. And then the workshops, there's a Saving Special Places seminar in the spring typically, and that's one of the workshops we attend. But again, that's an estimate as well. But those are pretty much the expenses that we have. So any other questions, Rob and I can field individually.
Thank you. Any questions? Did we lose Ken?
Ken actually got lost. I have him on the phone, so he's trying to get back in. This is all crazy.
This is the wrong meeting to lose Ken. We
I
need
know.
Ken
We
tonight,
need Ken.
all nights.
Can I ask I'm going to ask a question. It's okay, Sabrina.
Yes.
So Melissa, looks like the biggest number on here is the land conservation costs. Do you have any kind of estimates of what you guys have spent in that line item in the last couple of years?
If I had not just lost my laptop, I would have that number ready tonight, but this is literally a brand new laptop. So I don't have the exact number, but in the past it's been in the, between 1,500, sometimes, I don't know, Rob, you probably have a better idea from open space.
I think this number is approximately enough to do one appraisal. So if we were working on a it allows us to do one land conservation project or get one started.
And how many appraisals do you typically do in a year?
I don't think, well, one to two.
Okay.
You do the appraisal at the beginning of the land project. It can drag on for years.
Right. And I know that we at the last town meeting changed the formula that goes into the conservation fund. Did that impact kind of the monies that you're budgeting for?
It doesn't really. It's because it's we never know what that number is going to be. So we can't use that to budget with.
Right.
Is that fair, Rob? Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I think the theory is that the land use change tax money that goes into the conservation account is supposed to be used for purchasing conservation easements or purchasing conservation properties, and not for the the
expenses,
annual cost of running the commission.
Not for operational costs. Yeah.
Right.
Thanks.
Is that reflected in here somewhere though?
I think it's on the revenues.
Yeah, but so does this total, so this total reflects 100%, not just 50%. Is that right?
What total are you talking about?
Sorry, for the it's more, I guess, more question for Neil on the revenue.
So
The
what
3120 line.
Sure. What's reflected there is 50%.
Okay.
That the town, the general operating budget receives. The money that goes to the conservation fund is not reflected in here. That's a separate fund.
Okay.
but it should be, now it's 50-50, it should be about equal.
Right.
But it should be exactly equal.
And so it's called the conservation fund.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a statutory fund, which is separate from the operating fund.
Okay. And are there statutory, requirements or limits on how that is spent? Rob was mentioning it's mostly for, acquisition, conservation, that kind of thing. Is that the only thing that it can be spent on?
I think it's less than clear because I think other years it's been spent on all these things. So, but I can get a copy of that statute just for you all to look at.
Sure, that'd be helpful. And also for Conscom maybe to look at as well, so they know.
Anyone else have questions?
I don't know if can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
I can't see anybody at this point, but I don't know what's wrong. I won't ask anything because I'll assume that they have been asked, and I can look at the minutes to catch up there. I apologize.
No worries.
It wasn't very complicated, Ken.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you both for joining us.
Thanks for your time. Have a good evening.
You too.
Good night.
So next up, we have the library and Donna Dunlop.
How do we do this, Neil?
Hi, Donna.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, and we can see you.
Oh, my goodness, I can't see myself. That's kind of frightening.
It's lovely to see.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Lovely to be with you. Nancy Skarmius is here as well, Neil. I don't know if you can let her in.
Now that I know who NJS is.
Yes, she is the board chair.
Here she comes.
Okay. I just want to briefly start, obviously thank all of you for all the work you're doing, but I wanted to just sort of give you a COVID snapshot. The library staff is really very busy, which I am very happy to report. We shut down in March, as most everyone did, but as of June 16th, we opened up for curbside pickup, which was a very, very popular service, continues to be. In the summer 2020, Lee Maynard ran a remarkable as ever summer reading program, a virtual summer reading program. And we ran 2 sessions. We usually just run one session, but we ran 2 sessions back to back and had about 120 kids in each of those. So that was a significant service to families in Hopkinton, and that included providing books and virtual programs. It was great. Our walkthrough hours began on September 1st, and that meant we are open on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. In September, we had 295 visitors, and in October, 356 visitors. So we are, with all precautions in place, it is going very well. A lot of people are still opting to do curbside pickup, which is interesting, to stay safe. Adult circulation now is about even with last year. So we are putting out about the same amount of adult material as we did during a fully open period of time. And children's material is about doubled circulation. We have decided we're going to focus on the pre-K population. Obviously, we're providing services for all kids. But our real outreach, and Lee puts together what we call book bundles, particularly for pre-K age groups, because we figure the schools can deal with the kindergarten and above. But so that is working really well. And the circulation for kids, as I said, is about twice as high. We're doing some home delivery of materials for those who can't make it to the library. We're doing a lot of phone reference, doing assistance with tech support. We have partnerships with town departments. You probably have heard we did a drive-through Halloween in partnership with the rec department and the PTA, and we had served about over 200 kids with that, which was remarkable. I'm on the school district's family support team, and I'm also on the search committee for the new district superintendent. So we very much try to be part of this community. I'm happy to answer any questions about that, but I just wanted to give you some background on how busy and good things are at the library. We're presenting a basically flat budget. We're going up in 2 lines and reductions in 3 lines. The lines where we are going up, the first is 4550, 345, that's computer services. If any of you have been on our website, look at our online catalog, it looks very different than it had in the past. And we are now working with a firm called Biblionics. This is letting us work with the state library more efficiently, but it's costing us a little more money. We're finding that it's much more user-friendly on the patron side, though, and we are very pleased. This is just, the increase is $200, but it is an increase. I'm happy to say, in the next line, electricity, I'm presenting a reduction. We undertook many energy conserving measures after the lightning strike, and we are seeing that, and including on our HVAC system and our putting in energy efficient lighting. And I'm presenting a reduction in the electricity line. The fuel line, I'm also bringing down by $500, that we continue to be able to be conserving fuel, but also we have a lower per gallon cost. And another line that is going up is just bringing cleaning. Cleaning we brought down during the period last year, but this is the actual fee that we're being charged by the cleaning company that we use along with town. So that's up marginally. And I also brought the program expense budget down. For the most part, our programming is covered by our foundation and our friends group, which we are very fortunate at. Other than that, the budget is flat. And I am happy to answer any questions. Ken?
Yes, Donna, you'd be upset if I didn't ask something. There's very little I can ask. Unfortunately, I can't see you, and fortunately, nobody can see me.
Yeah.
Under the computer services account 345, you have 6 public computers. I'm just wondering, is there still the demand for public computers?
You mean in COVID times? No, we are letting the public use 3 of our 6 computers for reasons of being able to maintain them and keep them clean. We are letting people set up appointments to use our computers. We really used to be a place that small business owners would use to do business, or people coming to do genealogy research, or many kinds of research, or do their email. we thought that there was going to be much more demand for computers during COVID, and we have not found that to be the case. They're being used, but not to the extent. But we need to anticipate next year being able to open more, maybe being able to open all our computers up. So I would be reluctant to, I mean, we need to maintain six computers. I think we want to advertise more. I've talked to Marilyn about this a little bit as a way to get the word out to people who don't have computers. Our main way of communicating with the public is to put out, emails and that kind of thing. Obviously, if you don't have a computer, you're not going to get a notice about the fact that we have computers. So we probably need to do another newsletter that goes to every household. Did I answer your question, Ken?
I believe so. What I was trying to understand was, okay, in pre-COVID times, where did you need six computers, used pretty regularly?
Absolutely. I will say that when I started 11 years ago, we had 9 public computers. Actually, it may have been 10, considering the online catalogs. So I eliminated many of those because we weren't seeing the level of usage. And we feel that with the 6, we were at an appropriate level pre-COVID.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And well, let me, if I didn't say it before, I want to thank you for what you and your staff have done at the library in these trying times. You've been great for the town. In account 810, revenue generating funds, and this is something I think I ask each year, is that actually expenses incurred to generate revenue?
The revenue generating fund is something that's part of the New Hampshire Library RSA. We put funds that we get from photocopying and fines into a separate account. And we then, in good faith with the town, send 15,000, because that's about what we bring in from year to year. We send that over to town as an offset to our budget. So that's income we generate. I use the revenue generating funds, for instance, to pay for the maintenance on our copy machine. Since we're getting revenue from the copy machine, then we're paying for that. But so we're giving those funds over to the town as an offset to our budget. Does that make sense? I know I try to explain it, but it's maybe contorted.
And when I look at the miscellaneous revenues shown for the town, there's a library contribution of 15,000. So that's where the offset is.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. I've noticed in the request for reserves, you're looking at building access in a couple of years. And have you developed the plans yet for how you would go about that?
We worked with Hoyle Tanner at the recommendation of Neil. They have done other work in other sites around town, other departments, and they did come up with a plan to improve accessibility for the building. And it's just going to be a matter of getting the funds put aside to actually do the work. So yes, we have a plan.
And could we look to any of the Friends of the Library or one of the other organizations to help finance some project like that?
The bylaws of the Friends don't bring in an enormous amount, and even less during COVID times, because they haven't done their annual book sale, for instance. So their funds are very closely earmarked for paying for the gardens and the museum passes, and so that really isn't a potential source. And the foundation is pretty clear about supplementing and not supplanting the funds that we get from town. And so they fund things like programs, which are sort of above and beyond what we are able to do within our operating budget. I am pretty certain if you talked to the foundation that they would feel strongly that that was a town responsibility, the buildings and grounds, that is. That said, they certainly might help with a feasibility study or something that was above and beyond what we can do with town funds.
Okay.
It's the notion of supplementing, not supplanting town funds that's part of the foundation's charter.
Okay, thanks for the clarification, and
Sure.
I'll stop asking questions at this point. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? It's very weird. All I see is the little white icon there. Oh, there you are, Sabrina. Nice to see you.
Hi, you too. Thank you so much. I echo Ken's thanks. Thank you so much for everything you're doing. It gives people a sense of normalcy, I think, to at least, be able to visit the library in some sense. So
yeah, the staff has been wonderful. We're very lucky, and it is a little slice of normal.
Yeah,
but we're safe. We're being safe.
Good. Glad to hear
That's
that.
important.
Thank you all.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Donna.
Yeah, bye.
Jackson, I like your skeleton PJs or whatever those are.
So stuck on Halloween.
Sweet. So next we have recreation with Paula.
Paula should be able to unmute now.
Paula, are you oh no.
Oh, do we lose Paula?
We lost Paula.
She's been waiting patiently. Maybe she wasn't waiting patiently. Oh, here she is.
Hi, Paula.
Hi.
Hi.
There we go.
Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. All right, you can't see me, but you can hear me?
Can't see you, but we can hear you. And
All
Neil, I
right.
don't know. Can you see us?
I can.
Okay.
Oh,
So we can bring up the relevant sheets here.
I think, am I in there now? All right, there we go.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome.
So, interesting year for the rec department, for sure. So we definitely have not fully recovered or not, back to normal by any means. We're doing the best we can given the circumstances. We've been meeting with the Senior Rec Council and with the Recreation Committee, and we've been planning some things, some upcoming things. We've already had a couple events. Of course, you know how we went through the summer already with the pond and renting kayaks and and then we were able to start working on a couple programs that were outdoors that we could hold socially distanced. So we were able to do two trail hiking groups, one for little ones and their parents, and one for older kids, ages 8 to 14. That just wrapped up, and it was very well attended. I think we had filled that within a day of advertising it, so that was nice. I think parents appreciated having something for the kids to do other than, you know, be in the classrooms or be in their Google Meet, you know, screens. So the rec committee has been working on you know, what events we can hold, how we can hold them, where we're not drawing crowds, we're able to keep people socially distant, wearing masks, doing things outdoors. And so really the rec department is very limited in programs that can be offered when there's no inside building to be used. But I think we're coming up with some creative ideas. We held a scarecrow contest that was really fun, and we're going to have something different this December in lieu of breakfast with Santa. That was always so well attended. We raised money for the food pantry, and so we are working on getting Santa on a fire truck and having him go around the community, making some stops to see the children of Hopkinton. So details on that will be coming out soon, but you know, we want to do what we can to kind of boost the morale. And you know, things definitely aren't normal, but you know, the rec department offers that lighthearted community spirit type activities and programs, and you know, it's nice to be able to offer a little bit of that. You know, we're still not able to offer all the programming and the senior programming. You know, there's a lot of you know, limitations there, but you know, I'm hopeful we'll get there, and you know, we'll see how things go in the community and move forward. So putting together the budget, I will say, especially looking at the revolving budget this year, was just, you know, it was a head scratcher for me. I don't think you all look at that spreadsheet, but really it was a huge guessing game. I just have no idea what programs, what events we can even hold this year. And if things, you know, just really what we'll be able to do as far as that revolving fund goes. But the general fund was a little easier, but still, so when you're looking at the spreadsheet with the proposed, if you remember, there were many things that came out of the budget in 2020, knowing that we were shutting down there in March. We had that opportunity to look and see, okay, well, you know, we probably could save some money here. These, you know, I know, you know, like, for instance, we didn't put a porta potty down at the gazebo. So we knew we weren't doing that. So we were able to cut some money out of that line. So, and that happened in a couple areas. So when you're looking at the department proposed for 2021, really going and looking at 2019, is probably a better estimate of what like a normal situation would be, because things were cut out of that 2020 budget after March. So going down some things here. So the recreation clerk came out completely. So in looking at how we can you know, cut some things out for this year. Hopefully, you know, we can bring back at a future time on some things or whatever, but trying to think of, you know, how we can save the town, some money. The recreation clerk, I took out completely. The recreation part-time staff, in that was the money we pay for the ice rink clearing and also the field liner. The field liner is paid by the rec department to line the fields for the high school. So if the school took over lining their own fields for their athletics, they could pick up that cost along with the field paint, which I'll get to in a minute. So that item reflects just having money in there for the ice skate clear. I also would like to acknowledge, just so you know, our field liner this year did not turn in any time. He's still lined the fields. So I just want to let you know that, he did that as a volunteer this year. So I just thought that was important to state. So going down, the criminal records check still needs to be in there. We hire, several new lifeguards each year and program leaders. So that definitely would be up from 188. Let's see. Okay, so a big one to look at here is the porta potties. So, and that's really up to the town where you feel, you want to put them. We always have, I have it broken down with the cabins, which we keep down there year round. The Kimball Pond, for the 2 months that the pond is open, we have 2 down there, a handicap and a regular. And then the gazebo, which we have had down there, we did not have down this year, but we have had down there for about 7 months. And in the past, that has just been a regular porta potty. So the amount that is reflected, I know it looks large, but it is really for a handicap down at the gazebo, which is double the expense. I mean, it's almost $200 to put down a handicap as opposed to, like $100 for a regular one. So the pond would remain the same with the 2, and then the cabin still having the 1. So if you don't want porta potties, people will use the woods, which isn't always a sanitary thing. So, travel and meals, that is used mostly for, I don't think we've ever used it for meals, but I use my personal vehicle for every trip made to get supplies, to go to the ponds, to go to the cabins, wherever, to go get the supplies for the senior center. Dues and memberships, let's see, office supplies, it dropped a little bit. I think I can make it work on 1,000. That is mostly ink for the printer. I do try to do more online and not use as much mailings whenever possible. The postage will be back up to the normal estimate there. That is mostly for the July 4th postage. We do a big mailing for that. And then let's see, in field materials there, if you take out the paint that we use to line the fields for the high school, that would leave us down with just some field materials for buying chains, locks, miscellaneous things that go missing or get damaged at the fields, or on any properties, locks at the cabins, that sort of thing. So or at the pond. So that's it. It's pretty simple of a budget, but I did try to remove any excess I could. It's really kind of down to bare bones unless you want to look at, you know, I don't know, porta potties, closing, you know, I don't know. So anyway, any questions?
Paula, it's Ken, and certainly thank you for all you're doing and have done over this past year. I was trying to remember, you had volunteered to go to part-time for a few months during this COVID-ish time.
Mm-hmm.
And are you thinking that come January 1, you'll be back to full-time for the rest of the year, the new year?
Well, I will say, as things have, you know, I've begun meeting again with the rec committee and with the senior rec council, and things then, you know, ideas get generated, things start picking up, and I'm working a lot more hours than just the 20 hours a week. So I can see as things change, you know, new ideas come up, the workload picks back up. So if we're able to do more things, you know, we were talking about a winter carnival, and you know, who knows what we'll come up with, but you know, maybe doing snowshoe hikes and that sort of thing. You know, just I don't know, Ken, at this point, and you know, who knows, you know, when we first went in to this stay-at-home order, I worked a lot on the Hopkinton Helps. So that was very time-consuming, taking volunteers, trying to match them with people who needed help. If people couldn't go, I would go, shopping, that sort of thing, to make sure that all the people who were really struggling to get out could make it out. So we might be headed back into another situation like that. I don't know. So I can't say for sure what the future holds. I will say when the rec committee starts back up, they come up with ideas and, you know, get things going. So.
Okay, that's a very fair answer. The other question I have actually relates to the facilities. You have down the road a plan to irrigate the Park Avenue fields. And I'm just wondering, what, if any, groups or teams are using those at this point?
Yeah, the field usage has only ever increased since I've been in this position. So we do have, soccer club has used it mostly this year. And there have been a couple times when fields, just in this last rainy spell we've had, the fields were shut down, but Park Avenue, because it is so dry, and that is able to handle some, you know, some extra traffic on it. So Greg was able to open that up to, you know, the high school and the middle school and HISA when the couple times happened that they could not use a field at Houston Park.
Okay,
so
thank you.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say thank you, and I'll turn the questioning over to any other board members.
Hi, Paula. This is Stephen. Could you give a little more explanation on the Kimball Pond staff wages? It looks like I understand why this year went up because of the needing extra people at the gate. But it looks like the more normal pre-COVID years, it was a little bit less than what the request is now. So could you offer a little more context for why it's a little bit higher than it was in 2018 and 2019?
28. Let me go. So
It's 116. Is what I'm
Right.
looking at. Yeah.
So, if you remember last year, I had asked to be able to increase the amount of pay. So that's where that was at.
Okay. Okay.
I will say though, there are two factors which make it hard. When we have returning staff, the rec department does give them pay increases if their review by the pond director is warrants that. And we also, like, I try and guess the weather and try and predict the weather, and
That's hard.
I know, and it seems like, like last year we maybe closed the pond once or twice for bad weather. And I remember the first year I blew the budget, and it was maybe 3-4 years ago, we never closed the pond. So that means staff is there every day. And that just hasn't been, and it seems like that's kind of the trend, is we're having drier summers. So that means the staff is there constantly. So that is a factor there. And I was anticipating last year not having many staff available. Just because there's always been a lifeguarding shortage. It seems to be a national trend. Last year, luckily, we had ample staff. We did bring on 4 new people, but they had to wait to get their certification because of the restrictions on, everything was very restricted at that time in May and in June. So the Red Cross was trying to figure out how to get these in-person certifications done. So I'd like to say we won't need 19. There's a good chance. I'm still sticking with it. We could not have enough returning lifeguards. We may have to look at something, because we cannot compete here with the pay we pay when you have Concord swimming pools paying, more. And that was probably what was helpful to us too, was that some of the swimming pools didn't open last year. So there were more lifeguards looking for work.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. Well, thanks so much, Paula. And thanks for everything you're doing right now. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. Have a good night.
Good night.
All right. So we're a little behind here. So I think we'll try to get through cemeteries. I think I saw Dee Dee Jensen was on. Dee Dee, I'm sorry. We're going a little past your 7:15 time slot. All right. Cemeteries and Gail.
Hello.
Hi, Gail.
Hey, and yes, and sorry that, hi, Sabrina, sorry my photo's not showing.
We can hear you.
Start video, but I do this a lot too.
You.
There we go. Is Lynn not on?
I have not seen Lynn.
Okay.
Here's your budget, though. Can you?
Yeah, thank you, because I haven't actually seen it. We've discussed it, obviously. I believe the only significant change is that we were suggesting an increase, a modest increase in wages for the sexton, not an increase in hours. To my knowledge, we haven't given Joe any kind of increase since he started, which predates me. So I think it's about 4 or 5 years. So that seems, even in these difficult times, like a modest adjustment to make. And then that, of course, affects Social Security and Medicare. Our professional services, we left the same. And all the other line items we've left the same, other than, a $30 savings in dues and subscriptions. We do, you don't see it here, but certainly there have been less sales of cemetery plots this year. And there've actually been less burials. So we don't anticipate anytime in the near future having to spend any money, expanding plot lines or things like that. We would like to continue, and we do a lot of that out of the trust funds, improving the actual premises of the cemeteries. They do seem to be getting increased use. It's nice to go to the cemeteries and you'll see kids skateboarding through Kentucook, and there's always been a lot of dog walkers and visitors in Old Hopkinton. Was that enough helpful information?
That was helpful. Thank you. Anyone have questions?
Gail, it's Ken, and I can't see you or anybody else, so I don't blame it on myself. But just for your understanding on the 5% increase for the sexton, I'm thinking that the sexton shouldn't get any larger increase than all of the other town employees, than all the town employees are getting.
Yeah, that's fine. We had made an inquiry about that. As I said, we just haven't proposed an increase for him at all for, I don't believe, since he started. But I can certainly understand why that's a reasonable starting point. So no, so fine.
Okay. And with that, I'll just thank you and the rest of your committee and for all you've done.
Well, thank you, Ken.
All right. I think if no one else has questions, we're good. Thank you, Gail.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you all for being there. Have a good night.
You too.
I'm happy to be signing off.
All right. So we're going to take a quick break from budgets to do our one appointment with Dee Dee Jensen, who's here to tell us a little bit about a Lafayette marker for Main Street in Hopkinton.
Just said I was promoted to panelist. I'm so excited.
Hi, Dee Dee. Sorry we're a little late.
Well, that's okay. I took me that long to figure out how to do this, but
thanks for
so I just wanted to tell people who didn't know me that I'm Dee Dee Jensen and I live here in Hopkinton, right across the street from Sabrina. And I've lived here almost 30 years. In fact, my husband was on the select board 25 years ago and I never went to any of those meetings. So I finally got to one, I guess. So. Anyway, I don't know if any of you saw the letter that I sent talking about what this is. But I'm a member of the Lafayette Trail Incorporated, which is a 501c3 entity that was created to promote and to celebrate what Lafayette did for us during the American Revolution, and also his farewell tour when he came back 50 years after the beginning of the revolution. And he came at the invitation of President Monroe. And he visited all 25 states. He was here for 13 months. He went 6,000 miles. And he was the only, since he was only 19 when he became a major general, he was the only living major officer still alive at that time in the 19th century. anyway, he did a lot for us, and you know, he made the French Alliance work. He was also a very courageous officer, and he was a good friend of George Washington's. And when he came back for this tour, it was as if the Beatles had landed in Hopkinton or whatever. I mean, he was absolutely mobbed everywhere he went. It was a really big deal. And he came here from Boston, where he had just dedicated the foundation of the Bunker Hill Monument. And there were 100,000 people came to Boston to see him and to see the dedication. So, and after that is when he came to New Hampshire. Now, I've been studying Lafayette for 23 years. And as a result of that, I've ended up writing 3 books, one of which is a book, this is probably backwards, A Bus from Lafayette, A Bus on the Cheek, is actually a story about a girl who's 14 who lives in Hopkinton when Lafayette comes through in 1825. So when I say I really know quite a bit about Lafayette, I'm not kidding. I've lived and breathed the man now since 1997. Anyway, about 6 or 8 years ago, a young Frenchman named Julien Ichet came from France and just happened to stumble across the guy at Williamsburg who impersonates Lafayette. And he was quite interested by, you know, who is this guy, American guy who's going around pretending to be a Frenchman, because he really didn't know about Lafayette. Lafayette is not such a big deal in France because he tried to go a middle way during the Revolution. Anyway, he ended up starting this organization. He got sponsored by the consul in Boston to track where Lafayette went in all of New England. And then from there, he came back and he did the rest of the 24 states. And so he himself has actually traveled something like 40,000 miles around the United States, researching exactly where Lafayette went and what happened at each town. And so he was able to convince a foundation called the Pomeroy Foundation to fund the making of historical markers that could be put in the towns at the stops that he made along the trail. And these are really very beautiful markers. I don't know if you saw it in the letter I sent, but everywhere, I've been to several of the dedications, and there are, you know, state and local officials who show up and make speeches, and it's, I know who she is. Anyway, so they are only going to put about 10 markers in New Hampshire, and Hopkinton is one of the ones that they are considering, one of the towns they are considering. There is no cost to Hopkinton. The sign is free. The Lafayette Trail is having the signs manufactured. They cost something between $1,500 and $2,000 per marker, but the towns do not have to pay for the signs, but they have to underwrite the putting in, you know, the installation of the sign in the ground. And, you know, with whatever, their own workmen or whatever, it's not a big deal. So anyway, in about 4 years, we're going to be celebrating the bicentennial of this farewell tour. And we hope to have markers, all or most of the markers installed all around the United States. This goes all the way down to Louisiana and out as far as the Mississippi. I think Missouri also, he dipped over to Missouri too. So I'm just asking that you will consider approving putting a marker such as these in Hopkinton Village somewhere. There is a little marker there that you may have seen, but it's been there many, many years, that mentions Lafayette coming through, but it has the wrong date on it. If you go back, I lost you. Are you?
We can see you and hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, I think I'm looking at Neil's screen is what I'm
Oh,
doing.
okay. You're still with us. Don't worry.
Very colorful. So anyway, I can't remember what I was going to say. Oh, what we're going to be doing is planning events to commemorate this farewell tour, and also to do some reenactments of him coming to town and so forth. And I don't know if we'll get anything that complicated in Hopkinton, but we would, I am really hoping that you will see your way clear to approving this proposal and letting the Lafayette Trail make you part of nationwide, well, nationwide as it was in 1825. I don't know what to call it. I guess it's a project. So that's all I have to say.
Well, thanks for that. What's the timing on like when these markers are going in, and when do they need to know by?
Well, I don't know. They have to be manufactured, which takes a while. And as I say, there are 175 possible markers going in. I mean, they're going in at Niagara Falls and at Yorktown and, you know, many places. So I don't know. I can lean on Julianne to have it in whenever, but it does take a while. This whole project was delayed because of COVID, because the factory that manufactures the signs shut down during COVID. So I don't know exactly when it would be, but I think the sooner you make a decision, the better, so that I can let Julianne know one way or the other.
Gotcha.
Okay, so that's the deal.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions?
This is Ken.
All right.
Certainly supportive of the sign. I'm just wondering, and if anybody knows how old Town Hall is. Was Lafayette, when he came through, was Town Hall
Well,
there?
the one that was there burned down, I think. I'm pretty sure it burned down. They rebuilt it. The church, St. Andrew's Church, was not there yet, but there was a tavern called, oh gosh, begins with a W. My brain is fried. That was just to the side of where the church is now. And that's where the old sign, the little sign, is out in the front yard. That's where the gathering was. What happened is a group of officials met Lafayette's carriage at the town line and accompanied him into the village. And then there was a big crowd of people that all showed up to meet him. And it was interesting because there were quite a few people that years later, when they died, they asked that their obituary made it very clear that the most exciting thing that ever happened to them was that they met Lafayette in 1825. So I mean, there's never been anything like this ever in our history.
Oh, hello, kitty cat, Thea.
I was seeing it.
Well, it's very interesting. So if there's no like paramount objections here, Neil, what would be the best way to, I mean, I don't know how it works with markers, like how we would decide who puts it in and where it goes, and logistical issues.
I would think maybe if the group comes back with a recommendation for all of that.
I'm sorry, the who? You mean
that your
trail?
group, exactly, the trail group.
Well, of course, I mean, the best would be if it could be where the actual gathering was, which is basically where that old sign is, in front of the church, or to the side of the church. But if that's not possible, then it could be on the common, or in front of the town hall, or whatever, somewhere in the village, though. I think it would probably, I mean, I just went to the dedication in Newport, and they decided there to put the sign on the common, even though it wasn't exactly where I mean, part of the festivities were there because they had, you know, soldiers marching up and down. And one of the things that happened everywhere he went is that Revolutionary War veterans showed up. And in fact, in Concord on the 22nd of June, there were 100 Revolutionary War soldiers who showed up. And Lafayette was one of these name geniuses. He recognized them and called them by name. I mean, it was quite amazing. And I couldn't do that now, let alone somebody I hadn't seen in 50 years.
Yeah.
And they had a huge party on the State House lawn. There was a sit-down dinner for 600 people. So it was a big.
Lots of interesting history to unpack with this, clearly.
Yeah.
So if everybody's, I guess if we can just give Dee Dee our blessing and she can let
Julianne
know, and you can let us know if you need anything else from the town. Everybody good with moving forward? Okay, great. All right, well, thank you, Dee Dee.
Okay, so I can tell Julian it's a go?
Thumbs up. Thumbs up to Julian.
Thumbs up to Julian. You're gonna love him. He's he's as charming a Frenchman as Lafayette was.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, yes, you will enjoy Julian. So, okay, and I'll talk to him if he, I don't know. David seemed to think that the land out in front of the church belonged to the town. Is that true? He said that one time they looked into it for some reason, the select board, but I can't remember.
Yes, I believe that is town common land.
In front of the church, yeah. So that means that you could decide whether to put the sign in there if you want it there, right?
Okay, yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that sounds good, and I'll get back to you and let you know what Julian says. And meanwhile, we'll work on the text. I mean, there were several options that he sent, but I'll definitely be editing. I am a writer, you know.
Thank you, Dee Dee.
Okay, thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I don't know how to get off. It doesn't look like a Zoom screen.
Oh, I think Neil will.
Okay, Neil. Beam me down, Neil.
Your roll. There we go.
All right, so we're not too far behind schedule. If everyone's okay with it, can we take a quick break for water refills and then we'll plow through the rest of this? Is that good?
Sure.
All right, be right back. Neil, I see a hand up. I don't know if there's a question.
Can allow him to talk for a moment.
Ron, we saw your hand up.
Can you hear me at all?
Yeah. Now we can hear
Okay.
you.
Okay, this was signing in a different way and wasn't making too much sense to me here. I had to get my wife to help. So
Okay.
she's now out of the room.
Okay. We can hear you now, but so we've got a little more to go on budget presentations and a couple other items.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Sabrina, just so you know, I have to leave it just before 8.
Okay.
I'll be
Thanks.
disappearing. Unlikely to be back.
I'm sure you're really sad to miss the rest of the budget discussions.
Well, they might be over. I might miss non-public. I don't know.
Yeah.
Neil's going to do his presentation in under 2 minutes, I heard. So
2.5.
In my 2 hours of questioning.
I'm going to mute Ken and it will take me 2.5.
And we'll be done.
All right.
Okay, are you ready?
We're ready. What page are we on here, Neil?
We are on page, it's executive 4130. It starts on page 24.
Thank you.
And now you can see it. All right. So you see here, retirement again, that's one of the big factors throughout. Conference and training and membership and dues, those things were in weird places, so they kind of got moved around. So the overall budget for those two went from 6,700 when you add them together to 6,835. So it's actually a 2% between the two, $135 increase. Just that one's here and here. Printing is the printing of the town report. We've cut the numbers for 2021. We did go a little over last year, but we would not expect to this year. Town meeting, I left the same, although town meeting will probably be very different. We probably won't need a PA system, but I anticipate that we will have costs. In 2020, all of the extra costs of town meeting, the mailings and all of that were covered by the Gopher grant. So that's why we bought the plaques for the retiring people. But other than that, the expense went to that. The other thing that changed is I've been trying to work up a little bit higher the select board expense, which is largely the miscellaneous amount townwide. As you can see, different years we've certainly spent that amount. So that was done. So overall, with all that, it's a $4,593 increase, or 1.98%. Questions on that one?
Sorry, I don't have any questions.
Okay. We'll jump to IT. This is actually I believe it's the 5th year I've kept the budget the same at 41,000. We actually had a company that did it for this for a couple of years, and then they were going to get very expensive and go up substantially, and we switched to Computech Integrators, and they're the same company the library's been using, and we've been able to keep it level. We try to replace mission critical computers, desktops every 5 years, and the servers are on a replacement plan when we get the extended warranty, but so when their extended warranty runs out, so we're always covered. It does seem like we have more and more software expenses Office 365 and those types of things. So that is the same amount that it's been. Any questions there?
No.
I might hit my 2.5 minutes.
Give me a hug and a kiss real quick. You want to bed?
Assessing is next. Major changes here as we do more record storage. There is some additional costs to that.
I had no chance.
With our new assessing contract, we were able to lower it.
That's really good.
Overall assessing budget is down $730. Any question there? Legal, I put 20,000.
Actually, Neil, if I could stop you for a second. Under assessing, the professional services Sanssouci contract for utility assessing, I thought I remembered that the state had changed the methodology for assessing. Maybe Stephen can help me on this one, that there was now a defined approach.
Yeah, that's right, Ken.
There is.
And because of that, might our costs go down?
We're still expecting it to be the same because it includes the cell towers and those two. But let me go back and do a check just to verify that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Legal, we're in good shape this year. We most years we've budgeted 25 and sometimes 20. Last year we budgeted 15 and we'll be good. I put 20 in. It's kind of a hit or miss. We might be below that or we might be behind that. There were, again, some additional legal costs around the drive-through town meeting, but those were paid by the Gopher grant. Any questions there? All right, down to community services. This is the Community Action Program. They provide transportation in the area as well as Meals on Wheels, food pantry, and fuel and electric assistance. So this is the same amount we've basically been donating to them for lots of years. So that has stayed the same. Patriotic purposes, which is right here. This is fairly standard. We pay the band for Memorial Day $300 and then band concerts with the town band are $2,700. That's been the same consistently. Last year it was taken out because there was no parade and there were no concerts. So this is back to the regular amount. And then EDC is the same as it's been, except last year the budget originally had the economic development director at 50% time beginning July 1. The amount in there then was moved to starting October 1. So this would be the amount for the full year, with 50% of the costs being borne by the TIF districts. So that's the change here. And that is it.
That was impressive. Thank you.
I don't know. I think we did talk. I will note that in the debt service, principal and interest, 200,000 of that there is a decrease in principal of 314,000. Some of that is connected to 3 bonds being retired. About 200,000 of that has to do with the refinancing. So that does have a lowering effect across the board. Just I think that's worth noting.
Yeah, that's something that the board will have to take into account if we're trying to think of it in terms of leveling the tax impacts going forward. We don't want to have a drop this year and then in effect a double whammy next year.
Do you want me to jump into year-to-date financials? I can do those.
Yeah, might as well. Thanks.
I can do those pretty quickly too. Not a lot of changes from last time. Looking at the revenues, for the most part, everything is good. The second billing for payment in lieu of taxes will be going out because we just set the tax rate. Businesses licensing permits, actually motor vehicles are running ahead, which is great. That's always something to watch. People seem to still be buying new cars and certainly registering the cars they have. The money from the state, we are expecting as budgeted. The room and meals and flood control and the rest of the highway block grant should be coming. Other from the state, 3359, that extra almost 185,000 is the Gopher grant, along with the so we've received funds from 3 different grants at this point. The 132 from the town Gopher grant, the I think it's a little over 50,000 from the first responder stipend grant, and about 7,000 from the election grant. There's about 10,000 remaining from the election grant that I expect to receive paperwork on this week, that we should be receiving. That's based on the number of absentee ballots over what normally would happen. So we should be receiving that additional 10,000 too. So we've done pretty well with grants, and everything else on revenue seems to be running where it would expect to be. Expenses, same thing, they're running. Legal is great. Personnel looks a little high, but that's timing. The cemetery trusts will pay the additional that they've overexpended, so that will get reimbursed. There were 1,300 in insurance deductibles, which shows there. Emergency management is grant expenditures. Other things that are over cap has already been paid for the year, and the principal and debt have been paid. So we're about where we should be for this time of year.
Great. Ken, do you have any?
Just a couple. First, I want to start. Thank you, Neil, on the revenues. Account 3401, you broke into 3 categories, 3 line items: ambulance fees, police, fire, and planning. And Neil did that in response to a request from the budget committee, just to get a better handle on the different areas fees come in. And I think that's beneficial. And then in our budget booklets, it also shows what the, say for ambulance, what the net cost to Hopkinton is, or similarly for the transfer station. And I think that's all good information that explains things better. The one question I have on the revenue is the pilot with regards to St. Methodius. What's the status of payment of that?
That is still outstanding. We're hoping to have that soon, along with the second payment to catch that up.
Okay. So you're anticipating, though, we will be getting the payments?
I do. If not, you will see it on your agenda in the near future.
Okay. Well, thank you. That's all I had.
Thanks, Neil. Okay, so that leaves us with our non-public session.
Okay, Sabrina, before we get to that, under other business, I just wanted to pass on two things. They both relate to solar arrays. The first is the solar array at our fire station that is owned by Revision, and after 7 years, which would be in a little less than 2 years, we'd have the option to purchase it at fair market value. And I've been looking into, and Neil is helping me out, if it would be worthwhile for the town to purchase it, if it would be cost effective. And I understand the fair market value is estimated to be about $100,000. And that would mean that to save that much, we'd probably be looking at 7-8 years for payback. So at this point, I was thinking, well, I'll drop that as an issue for some money we should be putting into reserves for 2021. The other item would be the solar array related to the transfer station. And there, Stephen, Neil, and I and our Webster counterparts had a Zoom call with the principals, and where the project is actually expanding, but it's expanding significantly in Webster. As far as the Hopkinton portion of it is concerned, it would just still be at the transfer station, and we would still be getting the same amount of revenues in spite of the fact that they wouldn't be running the electric lines through the transfer station to the grid. They'd be going through Webster. And so at this point, they're moving along. I think they're looking at potentially 2 years till they're operable. And I don't know if Neil or Stephen would like to add to that quick summary.
I'll just add, they're looking to come meet with the board and do a presentation in the very near future, like in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, thank you. I forgot that.
The only thing I would add, and thanks for bringing that up, Ken, is that I think that they're going to look to not necessarily the select board, but some of the other boards in town and some of the staff to give them some information as they get ready to make application to the SEC. So that will be coming down the road as well.
Well, that completed my portion of the other business.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything for other? All right. So we can say good night to Robin.
Well, I would just, so you have a request for a land use change tax abatement. The requester, who is a property owner, is on and wanted to talk to the board. It seems like that probably should be done in public, and then you would follow up with a non-public after that.
Gotcha.
Just
that works.
I don't think you have, if everyone's in non-public, you don't really have grounds to go into non-public, I think. So so if that's all right, Kathy Chesley is on, and I can move her over if she has anything she wishes to say. Here she comes.
Hi, Kathy.
How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you? Thanks for joining us.
Good. I'm going to let Chip do all the chatting tonight.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah, that's kind of unusual for me. Anyway, we've been working with Ron and Digit, geez, I think for almost 3 years now, to sell a portion of the land that we've owned since 1982 that's along the Kentucky River. And one of the things that we want to make sure is clear is as this thing has evolved over a period of time, at one point in time, we were thinking about just carving out the house and putting all the land into conservation. And as discussions evolved, it seemed the town's interest winnowed down to the land along the river. And we worked collaboratively with them and pulled together a subdivision plan that was submitted to the planning board last March and was approved by the planning board. One of the basic premises of our discussions with the Conservation Commission, the Open Space Committee, was that we would agree to a price, and then we didn't want to be penalized with current use assessments in trying to meet the objective of putting this land in conservation. And sitting down and reading the final purchase and sale agreement, I guess any agreement could be subject to interpretation. And as we get close to executing that agreement, we want to make sure that that is the understanding of the Board of Selectmen going forward. And hence, that's why we asked to meet with you folks this evening. I think Ron and Digit are here as well. So be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions? Steven.
Hi, guys. Can you, I didn't see it in the materials and maybe I missed it, but what is the land use change tax that would be assessed on the remaining parcels that you guys are asking us to waive?
I don't know. My understanding is it would be 10% of the assessed value. How that is determined, I'm not sure. We could look to possibly, this is just Chip speaking, off the cuff, is we could take a look at the transaction between the town and the Chesleys. That would establish the value of what waterfront property is with access to the Kentucky River. And then that perhaps could be some basis for an assessment going forward. My background, Kent, is not in assessing, but candidly, our thought is that the basic fundamental foundation of the agreement were the Chesleys were not going to be assessed any land use penalties at all.
And I think the misunderstanding may have come when we were discussing originally. We spent a lot of time talking about selling all of our land other than our house in Curtilage. And then as the town preferred only the waterfront part, we went about discussing that and we hired a surveyor, did the survey, but never did we ever talk again about the tax, the penalty abatement. And then it wasn't only, and then we looked at we've had some time since the purchase and sale agreement came out, and to say, oh my gosh, that possible misinterpretation from the way we see it. And that's what landed us here. So before we go forward, we just really need clarification.
No, I appreciate that. It's just, I think I'm speaking for myself, I guess. I'd like to know, and then maybe this is a question for Neil more than you guys, because there's an assessing component of it. What amount of money are we being asked to waive? And I understand your answer to that. The other question I had was that I saw that there are letters from Digit and Ron, and they're both signed as Open Space Committee. And I didn't know if you guys had gone back to the Conservation Commission and gotten their support as well.
Honestly, we've been meeting with Rob Knight. We've been meeting with Digit. We've been meeting with Ron. I have a hard time understanding how the different committees come together.
Yeah,
and
yeah, no, I know. Yeah.
come and go, and Leland Wilder too has been in on this. The original agreement was they were going to waive the penalty. I don't know. So we never thought about what the amount of money was. And we agreed to a price, but then when we most recently looked at that and said, oh my gosh, that's the price minus something. So at that point, we said before we can go forward, we have to see if we need our original understanding to be considered at this point.
I think one thing the Conservation Commission has met on, there was, and part of the negotiations was the ability to retain a couple farming plots through a memorandum of understanding. And though we personally did not meet with the Conservation Commission, people from the Open Space Committee brought that to the Conservation Commission, and they've agreed in principle to that. So our entire negotiation for well over 2 years has been with the Open Space Committee. And in our view, that is an arm, so to speak, of the Conservation Commission. Though I understand they are not the actual Conservation Commission, but that's how we perceived it.
So I'm sorry, we don't really know what the amount is, Steve, and we aren't quite sure exactly how the committees have all come together and worked through this.
I see Ron's hand is up. Maybe we could bring him over to weigh in on this. Hi, Ron.
Gonna take his mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Still trying to figure. So am I on video?
No, but we can hear you.
All right, I'm trying to see how we can get. Okay. Am I on video now?
Nope.
Yes.
Yep.
You are.
Okay. I like being able to see myself in the lower corner of the screen. Basically, this was been an open space committee project. Again, we're independent of the Conservation Commission. We're appointed by the selectmen. But the way things turns out, Rob Knight and I are both on the Conservation Commission, so there is that bit of an overlap. And yeah, in the discussions, I mean, the Chesleys pretty much explained it. In our minds, we knew there'd be a wave of tax on the piece that the town is buying. But you know, if you look back at, as we went back on our discussions, you know, it was originally talking about the whole piece other than the house, and then our main focus for price and stuff like that was we were more concerned about the riverfront and that piece of agricultural land down along the river that the Bohannons and other people have rented in the past or farmed in the past. So the reason why the letters came from the open space is that it becomes, you know, it has always been an open space committee discussion. The conservation has been involved as far as the land use after the town acquires it. In other words, the Conservation Commission will be the group that will be managing the property once the town acquires it. But the actual, until the land is acquired by the town, it's been an open space committee project. So that's the kind of separation of powers there. I think the price that we're, you know, the purchase price is $120,000, and a large chunk of that is coming from the a state grant, and then the drinking water protection grant. And then the rest of it is being funded by the Conservation Commission from the Conservation Fund and the Town Forest Fund, you know, as they've done in the past. So they're at $120,000 for, I think it's just under, just over 5 acres. But as Chip said, it's waterfront property with good access. And so the remaining property would, be somewhere, in the ballpark or below that, because, it isn't, there isn't that much waterfront compared to the piece that the town is getting or the good access type thing. So I know Neil and I had a bit of a discussion, and we thought it'd be, the total change of use tax would be somewhere, we thought, for the 2 lots that are remaining, the property, as the Chesley said, being subdivided into 3 lots, the piece of selling to the town, the piece that goes with the existing house, and then a third house lot that, from what I understand, they will also be trying to sell. So of the 2 remaining lots, Neil and I talked that change of use tax would probably come somewhere in that, for the 2 lots, a total of somewhere $10,000 to $15,000. But without looking at the actual acreage and the assessment and running the works, it is difficult to tell. Plus, it's also based on the sale price, from what I understand.
And just to clarify, I mean, one of the reasons I'm asking that question, I don't know if you guys heard our debate earlier about the land use change tax and the 50-50 split into the conservation fund and then the general fund. I guess I'm a little hesitant to take an action that's going to take some of that money out of the conservation fund without hearing from the Conservation Commission. And so that's why I ask. And it may be a bit of an academic question because Ron, you and Rob are also on the commission. But that's where I'm coming from in wanting to know if the Conservation Commission is okay with what you're requesting as well. And it sounds like they likely are. But it's, I think, a worthy question to be asking.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the thing to consider is if we don't sell it to the town, the land will likely remain in current use, in which case there would be no penalties or no taxes coming back to the town. If you see what I'm saying, Steve.
Yep.
This is Ken. I'm supportive of it, but I also appreciate Stephen's questions about the amount of land use change tax that's being foregone. And for the 50% that is being foregone on the town revenue side, the Conservation Commission is also looking for a budget increase. And I think we have to think about whether the amount going into the budget should be reduced because of this.
And I would say probably once you want to start discussing this further, you probably should go in non-public once it goes beyond the general.
Yeah, Neil, can you, I guess the other question maybe for public would be, do we have a handle beyond what Ron mentioned about what that land use tax would be?
We don't.
Okay.
It's 10% of the fair market value when it comes out. So on the day it sells.
Okay. But, in terms of back of the envelope, rough guesses, it sounds like 10 to 15 grand is kind of the neighborhood we're in.
That's kind of where a lot of them fall.
Okay. Thanks.
The one thing I'm a little bit curious about when you mentioned you don't want a shortfall of money in the town budget or for the commission's budget, but the sale hasn't happened yet. So are whatever fees that might be involved are being waived. And so if we don't go through with the sale, there's nothing would come about anyway. Do you see what I'm saying?
I think that's a really fair point, that there's not, if the sale doesn't go through, it's not like you're taking it out of current use without, if those are not the 2 alternatives. The alternatives are it stays in current use or there's the sale. So there's not any money technically lost.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point. So I was also concerned about, what are the dollars that we're talking about that felt like of material importance, but you mentioned that point that it's not as though there is foregone income right now. It's only if you were to sell it to someone else, or that you were to take it out of current use for development yourself.
Exactly.
And it seems like it's beneficial to all parties to, consider
There
those
is-
points.
There is a purchase and sale on the property, which I think is probably relevant.
The purchase and sale focuses on the piece that the town is getting. So, and we kind of figured that again, the tax would be waived on that piece. But I guess, any decision, I'm officially representing the Open Space Committee tonight. But, kind of speaking as a Conservation Commission, and I understand that we would probably have to go back to the commission pretty quick and get a vote on it. But to me, foregoing the 50% change to the Conservation Commission in the process of acquiring this open space, it's not like we're just waiving the money and it's going to go. It's going to help us try to get this piece of property, along the river. So yeah, technically we may be losing the money, but it's still going. That whole process is still going to pick up this conservation land.
So should we shift into non-public?
Can I just ask one more quick question, Brittany?
Please.
So Chip and Kathy, do you guys have, I'm sure you want an answer as soon as possible, but is there some firm deadline that's pushing when we need to get back to you? Some hard deadline?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think we like to resolve this issue. Candidly, the appraisal that was performed is probably, Ron, it's 18 months old or so. We've been negotiating this with the town for quite a period of time. And if in fact, in the final analysis, it's interpreted that yes, the Chesleys will owe some current use penalties, I think it gives us pause. That's not our interest, candidly.
Yeah.
We're to a point that we're either going to go left or go right, and get this issue resolved. I'm not an assessor. I'm an engineer, so I'm crippled by numbers. And thinking about what the assessed value is, if the town and the Chesleys agreed to a value of $120,000 for 5 acres of riverfront property, and the property that would possibly be interpreted to be coming out would be non-riverfront property. So 120 divided by 5 is 20,000 an acre, and I think I don't recall how many acres there were coming out, but the number I came up with when I started to go down this path thing, what are we talking about? I came up with a number less than what that Ron and Neil came up with, and candidly, that's why when you first asked me the question, I'm not too sure what that number is, but I come up with something less than what Ron and Neil came up with, but maybe we've never sat down and compared equations.
No,
The whole parcel, was that for all the $10,000 to $15,000?
No, that was just a quick conversation between Neil and I when we tried to set up this appointment. And we just looked at that 120,000 sales price and just compared that to the other properties. It didn't occur to me, as Chip pointed out, that 120,000 is on is the riverfront property, which would also have a higher value than the backland, the other properties that they're selling.
Yeah, and I venture to say, were we to reappraise that today, it would probably be a much higher value than it was 3 years ago, 2 years ago.
If I could just make sure I understand where, I mean, I didn't hear any kind of firm deadline, pushing for us to make this decision. I'm not suggesting that we're going to drag our feet and, drag you guys out any longer. I wanted to know if there is such a deadline, let us know. Because I think one thing that the board may be talking about is, waiting to hear from the Conservation Commission. And that may take a little bit of time. And I'm not saying that is the direction we're going in, but that could be. And so do you guys, what happens from your end if you don't get a firm answer, for a week or 2 weeks? What does that look like from your end?
I think sorry.
We're in a tough situation because we have a possible, we have an offer on our home contingent upon that the land is kept in conservation. What attracted these folks here was that they don't want to be assessed any land penalty. They need to get a purchase and sale agreement. They've asked us to return a purchase and sale agreement this week.
Okay.
And we've put them off for about 10 days already until we could get this clarified.
Okay.
So honestly, we have so many things, not just the purchase of this house, but where we go next, like our builder is waiting for a signed contract and the bank financing and everything. We were supposed to have a closing date in early January. So we're up against not sleeping at night, all of emptying our house, but not knowing where we're going,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's also the issue right now of the state fund, state grant. It has to be approved by governors and council, and one of the finance agency with the state kicked it back to DES about some wording in the agreement, and not just this project, but several other projects. So that delayed that. I can't remember, Chip, the email from Rob Knight. Did they say that's going to be addressed this month or in December? Do you remember?
We were talking to folks at DES today, as a matter of fact. And you hit the nail squarely in the head, Ron. It's this project and a couple others that are being buggered up by this language. My understanding, it's on the commissioner's desk to move forward to GNC to be at the next council meeting. That's what we were advised.
Yeah, and that is when? Is that this month or next month?
It's the beginning of December.
December 2nd.
Yeah. So like we can have there'll definitely be a Conservation Commission meeting before the end of November. And if the selectmen want, a vote from the Conservation Commission, we can get that, before the end of this month. Hopefully that will give the selectmen a little more information to make a decision. But either way, until that grant funding gets signed, we can't purchase, the property. So we're looking at least, early December, I'm assuming, before, any sales could go through.
No, we understand that. It's just more of the commitment so that we can go forward in good faith with this potential purchaser, as well as our builder who's waiting for some go ahead as well.
Is it fair to, though you haven't made a decision, I'm just kind of listening to the discussion. Is it fair to characterize right now that the selectmen are open to the concept, provided the Conservation Commission is similarly open to the concept of waiving the fees? Is that the direction?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I would say we necessarily are in agreement on whether or not we need to consult the Conservation Commission.
Okay.
I don't think we've had a chance to make a response as a board yet.
Okay.
I think we're gonna
Yeah.
discuss that in non-public. So
Okay.
Yeah. Don't want to be cagey, but
No, no, no,
No,
you have
no.
to do your process.
No, I understand
We
that.
understand that for sure.
I see Digit's hand is up. She might have something to add here. Hi, Digit.
You're muted, Digit.
Got it. Okay. Could the select board agree to let the Chesleys know an anticipated timeline for their decision after tonight's non-public?
I think that's fair. Yeah. Yeah. So either a decision or a heads up on what the timing looks like. Oh, hi, Digit.
Hi, I think that would help Kathy and Chip.
Yes, thank you,
Yes,
Digit. That
it's-
will,
Yeah,
that will help a lot.
Excellent.
definitely. Okay. Anything else for discussion in public? Okay, so we have nothing else on the agenda tonight. So thank you all for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we are going to take a vote to go into non-public, and then we will be adjourning the meeting.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us.
Take
Good to
care.
see you.
Nice to see you too. So we'll say bye to everyone, but
Do you want,
board
do
and
you want to
yes.
move to go into
and we'll
non-public?
move to,
Or a motion.
yeah.
Hang on, do you want any input from either me or Ron from the Open Space Committee in your non-public session?
That's a good question. And I see Rob's hand is up too. He might have one thing to add. We can bring him over.
Hi there.
Hi, Rob.
Hi there. I had something I would like to add in non-public session. I thought this was going to be discussed in non-public. And I think if we can, I think we should have Ron and Digit if that seems appropriate to you. But as has been mentioned, they've been very much a part of this.
Yeah.
This deal.
Okay. So how do others feel about that? I'm happy to, I think it makes sense.
That's fine by me.
Okay, so we'll keep everybody for our non-public. We'll need a motion under, I'll move, we go into non-public under RSA 91A3 2 little d acquisition of property.
Second.
All right, roll call. Sabrina's yes. Stephen?
Yes.
Anna?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
All right, and Jeff had to go to another meeting. Bob Lepre's hand is up. Is he also a relevant?
Part of the Open Space Committee, as you know.
Right. Yeah, yes. Yeah. So
Do you want me to bring him over?
bring Bob over too.
Can I add that Bob is also a member of the Conservation Commission, so we've got
Great.
3 people representing the Conservation Commission as well as the Open Space Committee.
Okay. So we have made our motion and voted yes. We have our people, and so we will say good night to Robin. Thank you, Robin.
Yay!
It's on right now.
Good night. Thank you.